Is Daf Yomi. The Daf Yomi we're recording now is for Shabbos Kodesh. The Daf Yomi for Lamed Beis of Gittin, Gittin 32, as we start the fourth chapter of Maseches Gittin, which is the chapter that is called Hasholeach, the one who sends. It's a chapter that deals with agency. So Hasholeach get leishto. And the person sends a get to his wife through an agent. Vihigia b'shliach, and before the get arrives, before the agent arrives to his wife, the person who sent the get intercepts the agent, or he encounters the agent, or he sends another agent to run after him and to stop him. He says, this get that I sent you is nullified, or shall be nullified. Then indeed the get is nullified. So what does he do? There's two cases here. He sends a get to his wife through an agent, and then he nullifies the get either by himself telling the agent to stop, or by him sending an agent to tell the agent to stop. In both cases, the agency is nullified and the get is canceled. There's another way in which he can nullify this agency. If he ignores the agent, but he himself goes directly to his wife, or he sends an agent to his wife, and says, this get which is coming to you is nullified. The get is indeed nullified. Once the get arrives in her possession, he can no longer nullify it at that point. At first, they used to say that the husband, if he wants to nullify the get, could just go to a court and nullify the agency before it reaches the wife. That's what they said at first. But his Rabbi Gamliel Zaken instituted, he made a takana, he said that you can't do that because maybe if you do that, he said you can't do it because of the concept of tikkun olam. What's the concept of tikkun olam? That an agent who doesn't know about the fact that the husband canceled the get will continue to bring her the get, and she'll use it to get married. She won't know that the husband canceled it. And then what's going to happen is a major problem, because then at that point, the wife will remarry thinking she's divorced, but she won't divorce, and then the children will be mamzerim. So now the Gemara says, it doesn't say higio, which would imply that the husband intentionally ran after the agent to stop him. Higio lo katani ela higia. It means somehow he just encountered the agent, even inadvertently. Even inadvertently. And we don't say, oh, if he just came in front of the agent inadvertently, let's see, he clearly just intended to cause her distress. We don't say that. We say he's able to nullify in that manner. And what about the second case? The first case in the Mishnah is where he himself encountered the agent. The second case is sheshach acharav shliach, where he sent an agent after the first agent. Emily, what's this adding? Of course he can appoint an agent. Why do we need this case? The Gemara explains. Mao the Tamar, he might have said, he might have said the second guy, why is the second agent able to annul the first agent? You might have said he can't do that. The second agent is not strong enough. You might have said the first agent can say, why do you think you're stronger than me? The second agent, you're both an agent. Why do you think you can nullify me? So we say, no, Kamash Malan. We say that the second agent can nullify the first agent. Then the third case is Kadam Hu Eitzalishto. If he goes directly to the wife, he can nullify the get. Why that's obvious? He can go directly to the wife and nullify the get. Why do we need that to be explicitly taught? The Gemara says, no, Mao de Tema, you might have said, Kilo Amrina Tziyure Kamakavin, you might have said, when do we not say we might have said, when do we not say this principle that he's just trying to harass her? and therefore his nullification is not valid. Hani mili l'shliach, that if he sends an agent, we don't say that. Avo day, but if he goes himself to encounter, vade letzi ure kamakavin, that if he intentionally wants to harass, that if he goes to her directly, we might have thought that he was trying to just to harass her, because otherwise he could have just sent an agent. So you might have said that in this case, if he goes and meets her directly, no, we don't say he's trying to harass her. We still allow him to nullify in that case. And then the fourth case is, why do we need it? It says, why do we need the fourth case of the Mishnah where he sent an agent directly to her to nullify the get? Why do we need that? So the Gemara explains, no, you might have thought, he himself, it's not called harassing because he's not going to go out of his way to harass her directly. But meaning to say, he himself will say he wasn't intending to harass her because he's not going to go all the way there just to nullify the get, just to harass her. But what does he care if he sends an agent? It's no problem. It's just a few hours. He's not going to care. So therefore, maybe he's just trying to harass her. We don't say that. The Gemara asked the question, once the get arrives at her, he can't nullify her. So the Gemara says, Pshita, isn't this obvious? No, the Gemara says, no, no, we're talking about a case so the case is once a get reaches her, he's no longer able to nullify it. So isn't that obvious? Once it reaches her, of course he can't nullify it. So the Gemara says, no, we need this case there. He was trying to nullify it before he got to her. He was looking for the agent to try and stop him before it got to her. And you might have said, oh, you might have said, look, it showed his intent that he was trying to nullify it. We don't say that. Once it gets there, if he doesn't actually nullify it, he can't nullify it anymore. Gemara says, Tan Rabbanan, we say in the Brisa, if he says Batel, if he said it's Batel or EF Shibo, or I don't want it, Dvarav Kayamin, then it's a valid way of nullifying the get. But if he says Pasalhu, get, if he says this get is disqualified, that's not a valid way because batal means I'm nullifying it in the future, but pasal means it was never valid. So that's a false statement. So this means that if you say batal, it's a valid statement. Remember, batal lishna until a batal mashman. This means to say if you say batal, you mean to say I am now nullifying it. Is that really the case? I'm a rabbi bar Aibu, I'm a Rav Sheshes, I'm a rabbi bar Avua, and we have a case by a gift. Let's say a person is receiving a gift. And he's not sure that he wants to get it. That after the get comes into his possession, if he says matana zumavuteles, says this matana is nullified, or tibato, it shall be nullified, or ef shiba, or I don't want it, lo amar klum. He hasn't said anything, meaning to say he's acquired the gift. So there's a couple of reasons why he might not want the gift. Let's say the gift comes with liability attached to it, which he doesn't want. So if he uses this language that I don't want it, it will be nullified. No, at that point, he's already acquired it. But if he says, this gift is nullified, ain't a matana. Or if he says it's not a gift, then dvarav kayamin, because then his words are valid, because the word betelahi implies it was nullified before I got it. And so therefore, he's saying, I never acquired it. And so that's what he's saying. So we see from here, betelahi implies not expression that I will nullify it, but he's saying it was nullified. I never got it. So we see from here, Alma batal meikaramas. When we see from here that if you say something is nullified, it means going backwards. It was nullified. So what's the case here? What's the story? So the Gemara, is batal mean in the future will be nullified, or is batal saying it was nullified and I therefore by my gift I never acquired it? and by a get, it actually would not be a disqualification because you have to nullify. You can't say it wasn't a get. So Abaye says, Batel shtei lashonos mashma. The word batel can imply both things. It could imply moving forward and moving backwards. So we're going to say mashma de batel. It means it could mean it was nullified. That's what it means in the case of the gift. And so therefore, and also can mean mashma delete batel. It can also mean in the future, meaning to say that you can nullify it using this language. Meaning to say a person can choose, does he intend to use this word batel, meaning the past or meaning the future. And when a person says batel, we try and analyze what was his intent. Gabe get, listen to Mahane Bekamar. By a get, we're saying it means to the future, and he says I'm now nullifying it. By a gift, he's saying the past, meaning say it was nullified. So if a person uses the language, we assume he's trying to use the language that's most beneficial to him. Amar Abaye says, Naktina, we have a principle, that if a person sends an agent to deliver a gift, we're going to say that is like an agent that you sent to deliver a get. The Gemara says, nafkamina. What does it mean? What's the upshot? What's the teaching here? The nafkamina is laholechav kizachidami. That if he says to the agent to bring it by a gift, that he's not acquiring it on her behalf, even on the person's behalf. That even though generally speaking, it's a merit for the person to get a gift. In this case, since he doesn't say be this person's agent, he's saying bring it for me. So the agent you're pointing is acting as the agent of the giver. And so therefore the other person has not yet acquired it. And so therefore, if he wants to change his mind before the gift gets there, he's allowed to. Ravina Ashkechei, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, the Tali V'kai Be'ibra Dedasher. Ravina found Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak that he was standing by the doorpost. He was leaning on the door. Becoming by he said to him, Batal Ma'u. Let's say he says, Batal. If he says the word Batal, what's the law? Do we say that it implies for the past? And since he didn't say who, meaning he didn't say this get is nullified, Batal who, he just says Batal. He says Batal, what's going to be the law of the get? Meaning to say, do we say when he just says Batal, does that imply the past? Meaning to say it was nullified, and so therefore he said nothing. Or do we say maybe he says Batal, which means to the future, and it shall be nullified? So the Gemara says, Teku. We leave this question unresolved. We don't have the answer. So Amar Sheish Ramila Masnisatana. So we say in the Brisa, he says if he uses a language, get lo yoel, this get will not help. Lo yatir will not release. Lo yaziv will not cause her to be separated. Lo yishlach, lo yigaresh, he will not send her away, will not divorce her. Yeh cheres, yeh kicheres. If he's saying this get will be like pottery, or it is pottery, then it's a valid way to speak, and he's nullified the get. But if he says eno moil, eno matir, eno maziv, eno shalech, this get was, using language of the past, eno megarish, wasn't divorced, charasu, kecharasu, in all those cases, since it's in the language of the past, lo amar kum. In all those cases, then we're going to say he's not nullifying the get. He's just testifying that there was a problem with the get, but really that's not correct. So therefore, we're saying that the get is not nullified. So now the Gemara says Ibayu. So that was the Bryce. So they asked the question about this Bryce. Harehu Chares. Let's say he says this get will be pottery. So he's using a language of the past and the future, combining it to one. Mao, what's the law there? So Amalei Ravino Ravacha Berei Derav, Amalei Ravacha Berei Derav or Ravashi. Ma'ishna Harehu Hektish or Harehu Hefker. Why is this different from a case where he says Harehu Hektish or Harehu Hefker? This shall be Hektish and this shall be Hefker. This shall be sacred or this shall be Hector. So what does this mean? So Rashi tells us we have this. We just had this in the Durham, the Kaimuan, that if a person says this shall be hektish, we have a principle that it is sacred, it is temple property. The Kaimuan davi hektish become in several places we say that works. Say if this is mine, it's consecrated to heaven. And also we learned in the Durham Mem Gimel Amid Aleph as it relates to making something ownerless, we say Harehu Mufgar will call me She'achbots, that we say that this shall be ownerless to whoever I desire. Amal Abba Mashma implies for the future. And so we see from here that it is an implication for the future, and so therefore it should be able to nullify it. So that's the answer. So the Gemara says, now we have the next question. Let's say the husband cancels the agent who's going to divorce her. So the question becomes, Choser Megarishbo, Eno Choser Megarishbo. Is he allowed to use the same get after he canceled the agent? Is he allowed to use the same get to go and deliver it again? Do we say that once he canceled the get is disqualified, it becomes like a piece of pottery? Well, maybe all he's canceled is the agency. And so therefore, he has to make a new agent, but the get itself is not canceled. So that's the question Gemara asks, Choser Megarishbo, Eno Choser Megarishbo. Can you use the same get and divorce again or not? Nachman Amar Choser Megarishbo, Rav Shesha says, Eno Choser Megarishbo. So it's a dispute. Nachman says you can, Rav Shesha says you can't. And the law is like Rav Nachman that you could Choser Megarishbo, that you could use the same get again. And the Gemara says, is this really the case that the law is like Rav Nachman, that you could go and use the same get again to divorce? Or but is that really the case? But don't we have a principle? The law is like Rav Yochanan, the Amar Choseres. The Rav Yochanan says it's Choseres. What's Choseres? So this is a law. This is a law coming from Kedushin. What's the case of Kedushin in the Paraka Omer Chavero? In the chapter that's called Omer Chavero, I'm reading from the Rashi, Omer Isha Skachali B'Mos Halalo Achar Shloshim. He says to a woman, become betrothed to me with this money after 30 days. The Chazar Ba B'Toch Shloshim. And so within those 30 days, she changed her mind. Because they were nullified before they took effect. Also, in this case, the get should be nullified because it was nullified before the get actually took effect. So too in this case, just like the woman has the power to nullify the Kiddushay Kesef, to say, I'm changing my mind, so too, he has the ability to cancel the get, and he shouldn't be able to go back and divorce it. Gemara says, this is not the same case. Are these the same cases? Hasam Dibur v'Dibur who? Asi Dibur Mavatal Dibur. In that case over there, we'll read the Rashi, but it's speech and speech. What does that mean? At first, she was miskadesha, she was betrothed through speech, that she says she wants the Kedushin, and so therefore she changes her mind and she cancels it. Nevertheless, the money was not canceled. That if he would go back and want to betroth her with that money, of course he can. But here in this case, so therefore the speech is canceled, but the money is still in existence. But but here in this case, granted, he's canceled the agency of the agent, but the get itself, mikabato, he hasn't canceled that. And so therefore, since he didn't cancel the essence of the get, therefore we're going to say there's nothing stopping him from using the get again. Gemara says, at first, they used to allow the husband to go into a court and to nullify the get when the agent was on his way. In Mar, we said, when the husband wants to nullify the get, before the takana of Rabbi Gamliel, before Rabbi Gamliel made this takana, for how many people was he required to do it? Rabbi Nachman says, he had to go in front of two, because it's not a monetary law where you need three. It's just like a statement. So witnesses are sufficient. Rav Sheshes says bifnei shlosha. Rav Sheshes says you only need 3. Rav Sheshes amar bifnei shlosha bezdin katani. It says you go into a court, and so therefore you need 3. Rav Nachman amar bifnei shnayim lebei trey nami bezdin karlo. When 2 people sit, we also call that a bezdin. So Rav Nachman says, I'll prove to you. How do I know that you only have to go in front of 2? Rav Nachman says, Mina Minoa, that a bezdin is also that 2 is also called a witness, because or 2 is also called a court. The Tanan that we learned with respect to the Takana principle, that biblically speaking, the 7th year cancels the loans, but because there was a concern that people would be afraid to lend out the money. So what did they do? So the Gemara is going to discuss this, but he'll establish a principle. And this is called a cruise ball, that you could go to the court and say, and you say, I'm going to say before you and you, the judges who are in this place, and I'm giving you my document. You give your contract to the court. We see from here, since he says pony, that it's equivalent of a court. He's saying just to 2 people. So the Gemara, so this proves that 2 people are called a court. Rav Sheshes says, you think that Tana has to say everything? He's like a merchant, he has to list everything. He listed 2, and he's also saying 3. He just spoke in a shortened form. Okay, so Geshmak Daf, we have the concept of Tikkun Olam. We touched on the Pruz Bowl. It's a beautiful, beautiful daf. We'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to address.
I have